welcome to Honest Car Reviews. My name is Eric and today I have the keys to the brand new Ford Kuga. It is the Vignale version, the top of the line, most luxurious version that the Kuga will come as. This is the keys, the Vignale, and with the open, close and the opening of the rear tailgate. This is the reminiscent of the Ford Mustang, and I think that they could upgrade this key fob. But anyways, get back to the car, because this is a very special car, because this is a full-on hybrid, which means that this car has a big battery, 14.4 kilowatt hours, which according to Ford will give a total electrical or pure electrical range of 56 kilometers, which hopefully would make this suitable for day-to-day driving to work or to school or wherever you want to go. The combined power output is 225 horsepower, which sounds a lot, but a combined output doesn't tell the entire story, because you have the power from the petrol engine and power from the electric engine. And Ford has been a bit quiet about that. What they have talked about is positive effects that comes with an electric or hybrid, and that is a lower carbon emission, which means that this goes under a lot of the really expensive taxes. This actually gains from this tax style, at least in Sweden. It also gets a really good combined fuel consumption, so 0.13 liters per 10 kilometers, which is really good, and that is thanks to the big battery. But this is the Vignale Kuga, and you can see that this looks similar to the smaller Puma and Focus. It is really reminiscent of the new, or not reminiscent, but it absorbs the new design vision of Ford, or design language of Ford, with this very open grille and really flowy lines in the front. And actually this front looks smaller and tighter compared to the Puma. This car looks to be more mature, which in essence it is aiming to be, but if you look at the rear, you have a really big lower part here that extends from the rear, and you actually have real exhausts. That's really nice. With the Vignale you get a lot of extra options and a lot of design features and changes. Partly is of course the Vignale logo or name that's plastered around the car. You also get the chrome inlays or inserts around the windows or side windows, and at the lower part, and also at the front. This is the most prevalent part of the Vignale package. And of course at the sides, the ST line is the one that will come first to the dealers, at least in Sweden. It will cost around 45,000 euros. So this Vignale will be more expensive because it also has more on the inside in regarding the seats, which I will show you later. Have fake wooden inserts, which are here, but also at the center console. And these really nice leather seats, and the Vignale insert as well. At the rear you have manually adjustable seats. These two are adjustable, and the one to the right is fully independently adjustable. So if you're three persons at the rear, one person won't be able to have his own setting for the seats. So I'm now inside, and the first thing that you notice is the amount of space. You have a really low transfer case tunnel, which means that this really opens up the cabin. Here you have the wireless charging, you have Type-C and the standard USB. If you look down, you have a brushed plastic look. It looks kind of cheap, I have to say, especially with this chrome gearbox wheel. So this is the park, reverse, neutral and drive, and low range. The park, and then you have the different modes that you can select. So you have sport, you have normal, eco, and then you have some slippery modes like snow and mud. Then you have pure EV mode and the parking. So this can both parallel park and park in. So you're driving here, it can park like this or like this. But if I were you, I would park this car myself. One thing that I noticed pretty early is there's something lacking, because the Puma has in many ways a really similar interior, as well as the Focus and the new Fiesta. So this is in essence the top of the line. And what am I met with? Yeah, you have some good quality materials. For example, here, this is not regular plastic. But if you look down here to the left, this squarish panel here doesn't look really nice. And it feels really plasticky. And especially this center console here, I mean, this looks like coming from a truck from like 10 years ago. It doesn't look nice. It is usable, and you can reach this little button to twist, or wheel to twist and increase or decrease the temperature, and it works fine. But update it a bit, make it nicer. This just looks tacky and old. With Ford's continuation of making more space inside, this doesn't look the best, I have to say. I do not especially like this layout. Some people might agree and some people might disagree, but together with this really small infotainment screen and the tacky tree fake material, doesn't really connect together. You get the brake here, then something else, the sign language with the brushed plastic continues down here. Then you have these plastic rubber inlays. The price hasn't been released, but it must be close to 50,000 euros, and you are against Volvo XC60, I mean BMW X35, you're in completely different territory, and you need to deliver a really good interior. You get the Bang & Olufsen sound system with active sound control, so it will block some sounds that comes from the exterior of the car. And Ford has used materials at specific points in the car, at the wheels and at different places throughout the car. This material is there to absorb the sound that comes from different parts from the car. So the sound level in the cabin is really low. However, with the introduction of a panoramic roof, which you can open, you get a lot of wind noise. So everything that the engineers have done, so you can even open this up fully. You can see, have a lot of room, and you can open up this fully. It's really impressive. Like this. And then you have mesh to reduce the wind noise. But with this panoramic roof, you have a lot of sound, which counteracts everything that the engineers have done, and that's a bit sad. but I will close that now with a simple press of a button. I have a fully electric or digital gauge cluster, which is pretty similar to the Puma, but it's a bit different. It's not as, it's more refined. You don't have revs, you have the power from the electric engine. And the average fuel consumption now, with some more aggressive driving, have been 3.8 liters per 100 kilometers. You can see I have a head-up display, which is really handy to keep the eyes on the road. With the Vignale you get the cruise control with active distance keeping, and it can also be used for stop and go traffic. And it also has lane assist, and this is a really extreme lane assist. If it's on, it really tries to keep you within the lines. This is a temperamental cruise control. It is nervous. It applies the brakes really aggressively if a car tries to go ahead of me and drive over in my lane. It is so worried it starts to almost panic brake for a millisecond and then it releases, which means that it's a lot of going forward and backwards. It doesn't feel as smooth as you could drive yourself. This car is only comfortable to drive or daily drive in normal and eco. The sport mode is way too stiff and way too uncomfortable for this car. And the seats get firmer and it gets unnecessarily jolty, and trying to take this car through the corners is to ask too much of the car. You get a lot of latency in the steering and there's almost no response. So I wouldn't call this car the most fun to drive. In that aspect, the Puma has better driving characteristics. I fit really comfortably in the front and really comfortably in the back, and you also have a lot of rear storage because the roof is not sloping downwards so much, and the rear part of the car really extrudes over the rear wheels, so you get a lot of extra space. And the quality and the style of the seats are really nice, especially with the Vignale inserts. The digital gauge cluster, it was introduced with the Puma and it has been changed in some ways with the Kuga, and it is more developed, less tacky. I wouldn't say that Puma infotainment system is tacky, but it is, the Kuga infotainment system is more daily usable, if I would say that. You have more information for the hybrid engine, because this car is all about the hybrid, the full hybrid experience, so to speak. One thing that you have to note with the hybrid engine is that you have a reduced load capacity or towing capacity compared to the other petrol and diesel Kugas. This is really low. It's almost half of what other models can pull. So my final thoughts for the Ford Kuga Vignale. It has a really grown up exterior, and I quite like the rear with the extruding lower part. You also have real exhausts, which is really uncommon these days. Inside you have a lot of room because I can fit comfortably in the rear and have a lot of luggage. You also have a lot of room as a driver because you have a really low transfer case tunnel. However, the general sense of the interior is that it's not well connected. Here you have flowy lines, but on the left side here you have a rectangle control for the filler cap and for the lights. Some of the technical features of this car, such as the cruise control, is really nervous and it feels underdeveloped. is this a car that I personally would look into if I want to buy a bigger SUV crossover in the just under 50,000 euros range? I am not so sure. Ford has done a good job, but compared to the competition, I don't know, or I don't think that Ford has brought enough to the table. Time will tell if the Ford Kuga has what it takes to take on the competition, or will be another Ford edge in Ford's history books. My name is Eric, and this is my first-hand experience or first-hand review of the Ford Kuga Vignale. See you next time.